Pages. The first thing we want to do when we're going to design a site is define all the different pages that we want to use. So we're going to create a structure that is going to indicate how the user's journey is going to be. So we're going to create a wireframe, or we're going to create a mock-up or something where we're going to design a map with a visual representation of all the pages we're going to use, how they're going to be connected to each other, and how the user is going to travel through them. The map should contain individual pages or screens, as well as visual representations, for example, of the layouts and so on. We can also see that we can create responsive designs. We can design for not only for a computer or a TV, we can also design for smaller devices, for medium devices. So when we're creating these mockups or these wireframes, we're going to want to make a design or mockup for the different sizes. So if we want to use the same page on a very narrow size, for example, for a mobile phone, we're going to want to copy these contents and create this new design. We're going to see that when we do this with the platform, it's quite easy because we can share the same contents. For example, this logo here can also be used for this other device. If we have navigation, we can also use this content for this other device, or we might want to make some modifications. For example, here the navigation could be a horizontal button panel, but here we might want it to be a drop down. So we might want to do slight modifications by copying the original page design and then slightly modifying the contents to adjust them for the different devices. So before starting the implementation, we have to conduct a content inventory and define the interfaces that we want for the home page, the product categories, the detailed page, the shopping carts, etc. So we have to make sure all of this has been designed considering all the different devices. And once we have these mockups or these wireframes created, we can start working on our websites. We're going to create sections, and in each one of the sections, we're going to create publishing spaces. This is something we already know how to do because we've been using it quite often previously when we've been creating employee portals, external portals, even reports. They all work the same. We create sections, and within those sections, we create publishing spaces. And in these publishing spaces, we can add different types of contents. Here we're going to see that in content management, there are specific types of contents, for example, a content list, where we can display the data from our content management site. So here we have the data repository, and here we have the site. And in this site, we're going to use some templates. So in this example, we have a page with a space that contains several elements of this family. And we've created a template that defines how the contents are going to be displayed. So here we're going to indicate the size. If first we want an image, if we want, for example, the title, afterwards, if we want a description, and so on. So all of that is going to be indicated in the template. So in this case, I'm not going to require authentication. I don't want this to be a password protected site, so I don't require authentication. I'm going to save, and I'm going to the layout view. For me, it's quite comfortable to work here because I can see everything in very clear boxes, but we could also go to the editing view. So basically here, wherever we click, we can start editing. So basically we're editing wherever we're clicking on. If we go to the group view, we're just going to see a large list of all the different sections that we can configure. So we can just use whichever of these three tabs is more comfortable for us. I'm going to use the layout view. So basically here we go to the section, we create a space, and we can create more spaces if we want. For example, I can create one here to the right. It's called button. And here we'd select the contents we want. I'm just going to leave it without content. I'm just going to give it a name. And I'm going to click save and exit. So now we have two spaces. This one here, I'm going to call it logo. There we go. And I'm going to say I want it to be maybe 10% of the page, and the minimum width is going to be 150. And then here, I'm going to say the button panel is going to be 90% of the page, and the minimum 800. Okay, and I'm going to change the color to yellow, just so we can see the difference. So I click here on preview. And this is what my page looks like. If I want to take off these shadows, or if I want to change the colors or add some contents, I can do that later. But the first thing I want to do is create the sections, and in these sections, at least give them a name, indicate what size I want them to be. These are responsive sections, so we can see they'll get larger or smaller, although they do have a minimum size. So even though I make this quite a bit smaller. We can see we've already reached the minimum, so it's not really going to get much smaller than that. Okay, so this is the result of creating one section with different spaces. So basically what we're going to do is first we're going to create all the different sections with all the different spaces. And then we're going to enter and start configuring them. Exercise 404, part 2.